Uh, right now, we have with us professor, but a professor who's more than a professor. How much more? You will find out. We have with us Professor Himangini Hooja. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Prof.
Oh, thank you so much, Professor Mathur, for having me over. And so what I want to talk about today is more about what we can make from our opportunities and the experiences that we have. And as you know, I'll just give a little brief about what I am more than a professor. So I'm going to start with that first. So I have had a career in shooting, and so I started shooting at the age of 32. And when I say shooting, I mean trap shooting. I do have a brief video that I can show you guys to understand exactly what shooting I did. And can we show a video, Professor Mathur? Can we?
Yeah, I'm going to pause it. Okay, she has shared the screen and we are back with her. There she is. All right, here we go.
So, all right. So before I start, there are certain safety protocols that we have to maintain. So the gun is always found, pointing outside. It's never at the behind. And you have to wear glasses. There are earmuffs. I hope you can see the earmuffs. And there's a shooting jacket that is also part of the whole, entire protocol of when you are into competitive shooting. So I'll just play this video and then explain what the game of trap shooting is. This is the Olympic event. So I'll just play it for you all. Right. And there's another video that I think let me just check. This is one video where the target is going on the left. And I'm not sure if. Right. So is this video visible now?
Yeah, it's visible now. Make sure the volume is on.
Right. It is on. If there's not much, all you hear is me calling the bird, which is a sound. And
Okay.
you see this, there's a mic kind of a thing here near my waist. And this is activated by the sound. And that's when the bird. So the game is, I just explained the game. So the game is that you mount the gun. And when you're ready, you call out for the bird. The bird approximately is rising about, somewhere from 15 yards away. So you see this, there's a green patch, which is the cement. That's where the bird comes out from. And it's a small disc, which is about 6 inches in size. And it's mostly at a speed of about 100 kilometers. So the reaction time that you see me shoot is somewhere around an average of, 0.6 seconds. So less than a second. And so you call and then you just have to respond. So that's how quick the game is. I'll just play this video again to get an idea. So this is what the game is. Yeah. So you have to 5 times, and you have to be ready every time you go on the station. You stand, you have to mount the gun. There's a process to it, and then you try and shoot the target. So targets can go from anywhere about 45 degrees left to 45 degrees right. It's absolutely random. So the game is very subconscious in nature. So you train yourself to be alert and to react. And of course, because I started this at 32, my reactions were a little, they were little, what would I say? I wouldn't say slower, but yeah, comparative to the younger lot, it took me a little while to get the hang of the game. So
and then, where did you reach?
I reached the national level. So I mean, just to give you an idea, there are 3 levels to it. So you have to qualify at the state level, then you go to the zonal level, and then you qualify for the nationals. So you have to keep going. And when I started in 2015, I ended up getting a medal, and I had only shot for about a month. And considering I had never handled guns before, I had no idea. But the game was exciting. I had been a sports person during school. So this was something that I was looking forward to. It's an outdoor game. So, whether it's raining, whether it's cold, or whether it's hot, you are out there and you can enjoy the elements and enjoy shooting. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But did you get any training, or how did you just get it?
So, well, the credit for my going into shooting goes to my husband. He was an avid shooter, and I think I took over at some point from him, but he encouraged me to get into it. And we also took coaching, both of us took coaching from an Olympian, and he had come to Jaipur, and it was a 7-day camp. So he gave us the basics on what shooting is about and how you have to go about it, and what will suit me as a shooter, considering I'm shooting at a later age. So that was a very big help. And I think that really set the foundation for me at that point of time. So yes, that's how it started.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
All
So
right.
Then, the idea when I got into shooting was more from the point of view of how much you can learn. And it was absolutely a new game. So that was the idea. But, if you've been a sports person, you kind of understand that it's very easy to get competitive and you want to do better. So I got one medal at state level. Then I thought, okay, next is the zonal level. And then I got a medal at zonal level also. So you have players from all over India coming, and that's a qualifying, competition. So I got a medal there also. And that's when I knew that it is not something that's just coming by or as a fluke. And so within 3 months of starting shooting, I had 2 medals. And that really got me going. I was quite motivated about the sport. And you see so many people around you, how they are playing, what they are thinking, what they are dealing with. And somehow I felt that trap shooting is a game which has a lot of meditative aspects to it. So, you are your own person, you are there. There is no one who's going to support you. It's not, either it's like you can compare it to golf. If someone has played golf or tennis, it's quite meditative in nature. So that's how it excited me. I have a professional background in psychology. So this game really got me going and thinking about myself and what I can do. So I identified in the first couple of years of my shooting that there are two challenges to whenever, and in any field, in fact, what the technical requirements of the field are, and then what you can put in. So the understanding of, how you are as an individual, what you can do, is something that one has to be comfortable with. And I got to learn a lot about the sport. I had a lot of help. In fact, I trained in Jaipur. There is a shooting range in Jaipur. It's a beautiful range. You just saw it in the video also. And people helped me. I got to know more about myself. And I did continue to win a lot of medals at state level. And at this point, I think I would also like to mention that when I started shooting, there were hardly any females in the state. So if you compare the number of male entrants, people who are qualifying and playing versus those females, it was quite alarming. And, it was not easy to convince women to come and shoot because it was not considered to be acceptable way of, expressing or being in a competitive state. So having said that, now the situation is very different. We have a lot of women, especially from Rajasthan, and they're representing India, and they're doing exceptionally well. So so this is where 2015-16 coming. But during my shooting, I was also pursuing PhD in psychology. And I submitted as I was winning medals. I was also trying to work and finish my final submission. So I got through my final submission just before my national championships. And then I went on to eventually, go for my Viva the next year. And I also then got a job as a full-time faculty at the IIS University here in Jaipur. So I was the head for about 2-3 years, last 2-3 years, and currently I'm serving as the director for the School of Behavioural Sciences.
Wonderful.
So thank you. So there's a lot of mix of academics and sports here. Although I feel because of psychology, it's kind of all inclusive, and it hasn't stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. So, well, a lot was happening 2015, 16, and I kind of understood a lot about myself. And of course, understanding self kind of gives you an idea of what environment you're functioning in. And so I wanted to do better and better. And, shooting is a sport, like when you saw I was standing, shooting as a sport is got to do, if my reaction time is 0.5 seconds to shoot, I have to be in a mental state where I'm completely aware and I only focus on that one target that is coming out, and I'm able to, pull the trigger on it. So body balance, there's mental alertness, there is reaction time. You also have to be there. So there's a lot of introspection goes on, that every time you shoot, what happened, you have to figure that out for yourself. No one can tell you, because it's all about you. So like I said, psychology comes in there also. And so I wanted to improve and I wanted to work better. So I worked on that, and I kind of developed, because my coaching happened in 2015. And post that, I wanted to figure out the game all by myself. And I insisted on not taking any formal coaching, because I thought it always kind of puts you in a slot. Although I'm not undermining the capabilities of any coach, but I think my perspective at the age of 33 was very different to the sport, and I wanted to explore that further. So I didn't go for any professional training post that. And in 2017, I had thought to myself that I'm going to really improve on my performance. This is my third year and I must do something better. So in 2017 at the national championship, I finished 6th All India, and that helped me qualify for the national trials. And of course, you stand up with the names you have heard for the past 2-3 years who've been the top players. And I was able to stand with them shoulder to shoulder all by myself. So that's a very proud moment I have, considering I hadn't been really shooting for that long. So that's the shooting story. I have continued shooting, and I did represent Rajasthan State team, and we've got quite a few medals. So that's where shooting contributes.
Okay.
And so the thing that I have realized from shooting, and like I said, there are so many youngsters who come in. You've heard names of Apurvi Chandela, you've heard names of, Divyansh Pawar. They've all got Olympic quotas. The thing about young shooters is that they really don't know where they stand and how they can figure themselves out in this competitive field. They want to do something, they're quite motivated, but then how does it work for them? So the system kind of wants to make you, fit into a particular caste, what you have to do to make it big. And that's a problem with most systems and procedures. They're meant to make it easy for you. But, everyone is unique. And it's not necessary that what fits in for me is going to fit in for someone else. So the shooting, a lot of part is tutored. It is because it's technical in nature. But I realized in my span of 7-8 years of shooting so far that people miss out the aspect of self-discovery within shooting. And that's something that transcends to, your career options also. So a lot of youngsters who are coming in, they want to make career as a shooting, it's a career for them. So, but they don't realize that where do they fall, what do they need, and what do they need to do. So you want to replicate what you already know because you find it comfortable. But, as an individual, I feel one should really question the status quo. And the moment you are questioning, you'll find more and more things about yourself, and also maybe, perceive the situation differently and work through it. So the problem solving, the creativity, the insights that develop, they come through challenging what you already know. So, yeah.
Okay.
The other is, I think I don't want to sound like preaching, but also a lot of times what we do is that we end up what all can I control for things to go right? That's an approach that generally people have. And the problem is that if I focus too much on control, then I'm focusing on what can actually go wrong. And in my shooting career.
Could you say that again? It's a very important insight. Could you say it again?
So what I feel is that people want to control because if they control what can go wrong, they feel assured that the success will come to them.
Yeah.
But the reality is that I don't want to control what can go wrong because then I'm going in the wrong direction. What I actually want to know is what works for me.
Okay.
So that's the part of self-discovery that I feel that a lot of youngsters, even middle-aged people miss out on, and they suddenly realize that we're not in the right direction. So the idea is to start thinking to understand what works for me, and that is something that leads to more clarity. So what I want to know is my strength and how do I build upon it. Because if I have that answer, I'm going to be much more powerful, much more impactful, and much more efficient. So that's the thought I have. And I mean, I've shot for a long time. I'm currently on a break from shooting. And but I strongly feel that youngsters and all athletes these days, they need that mental training to understand the aspects of who they are, what they are. A lot of times you only tell them this is what you're supposed to do because sports persons have to be very, it's a physical, everything is seen from a physical sport point of view, that what does it require you to do in terms of stamina and all of those things. But this very little aspect which makes a difference. And if you see the brightest sports persons all over the world who've made a difference, it's their mental toughness and mental strength. So that is something I feel maybe, the sports associations here, or for that matter, the government as a policy should look into. I personally, being a sports person, having experienced sports during school as well as later on in life when people do not professionally follow or pursue such goals, I feel this is something that really needs to be addressed. And, you need to have that awareness about how the game changer can be your own mentality and your mental strength. So that's what I feel.
I think it's very important. If you flip it for a minute, the top chess players, they actually exercise very hard.
Yeah.
Because you have to have both. You cannot just say, hey, I'm a genius, so I don't have to physically exercise and this and that. I'll just beat the other person. But actually, they, apart from Bobby Fischer, who was nuts, everybody else actually exercises a lot because you need the mind and the body to be at the top. I think that's what you're saying, that you need, whether it's you're looking at it from the point of view of the physical, there you need the mental. But if you are at the mental type, you need the physical type, right? So yeah, I think it's right. Mind
So
and body
healthy
both go to.
body leads to a healthy mind.
Yeah.
So for a chess player, that's important. And for a person who's even into physical sports, for them also, it's a very important aspect. So the idea of having, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if I know what demands are there on me, which most of us know, but what I also need to know is the resources that can help me deal with those demands. And the moment I'm able to sort of maneuver my resources, work around them, I'll be in a much better space to make decisions, make judgments, and have a free mind. And the awareness, like I said, sports, especially shooting that I've experienced more recently, is quite meditative. So you are in a system where you move around and you shoot. But within that also, the awareness of what has happened is very important.
I think we have to tell this to President Trump because he said he would shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen to him. He wasn't thinking meditation.
Thankfully, I didn't get that news update.
Good,
so
let's
awareness,
continue.
Like I said, awareness is so important.
Yeah.
So yeah. So now, yeah. So now, like I'm juggling two things. I teach and I also do shooting, and I absolutely love both the roles because I was able to manage it. At one point, I thought maybe I have to choose one, and I didn't like the idea of leaving either. So I continued with both. And I mean, the management at the university where I teach has been extremely supportive of my, option of shooting at this point. And
are your students scared of you that you might shoot them?
No, they're quite surprised because I think how they see me as a faculty member teaching, and I teach cognitive psychology to master students, and I teach organizational psychology, which is, a specializing paper. So they feel that someone who can talk so much about the subject, and what is she doing there? So I think they think I'm two split personalities who's, here and then somewhere there. So it's difficult for them to deal with it.
Okay.
But they're quite excited. Most of them don't know much about shooting, but some of them who do, they're quite excited. And I have met a couple of them at the shooting range when I was going. So they're quite excited to see me. Yeah.
And these are all women, right? Your students are all women.
Yes, so it's all girls university and they're all women. And actually the psychology department is doing fantastic at the university because, mental health is such a big concern these days and post-COVID more so. And I'm glad that there are so many students who want to make a difference and contribute to creating awareness and interventions for mental health. So it's a good scene. In US, of course, it's much more developed, but I think India is still trying to break through certain barriers of reaching out for help in terms of what one feels and how one experiences. So I'm hoping we're going in the right direction.
Okay, so tell us about the university life.
Okay, so university life is, like I said, 2016, I joined full time. And so I teach graduate, postgraduate students. And since I had just completed my PhD, I now have a few PhD scholars under me. And it's a nice experience. You get to learn a lot. And, we do a lot of activities. And psychology is a subject which has ample scope for applied aspects. So you can't really contain yourself in classroom. And I'm glad that we're able to provide that opportunity to more students. So in fact, we've taken them for nature walks to understand that that's also an aspect one needs to go food walk, how food and mental health is related. Those kind of things which might not seem associated, but then why not give it a shot? Yeah. So my teaching, I'm not a natural teacher, so to say. That's what I think about myself. But I have grown into the aspect of teaching. And for my postgraduate students, it is a very clear discussion-based case study because I teach a specialized paper. So it's a different approach because we want them to be ready to be able to function on their own when they head out after the master's program. So the idea is that you have, I prefer to say that psychology master's is a more professional degree rather than a normal master's degree because you're learning a lot and then you can go straight into application. But things for the graduate first year student, they're quite confused when they enter. They don't know where they are placed. It's the first time that they're probably moving out of towns, moving out of the school setup and everything. So it's quite challenging for them. And in fact, we had a lot of students who felt overwhelmed with the fact post-COVID when they came back. And they said, there are too many people in the classrooms. So there are so many aspects that come out from how situations have been and how we've evolved. So, but it's been a good, I'd like to believe that I have evolved and I am able to now read through a lot of, kind of, what can I say? Not symptoms, but I can read through a lot of body language, what students want to learn, how they want to learn. Actually, that's a very important aspect that I've learned. So when I started teaching, there was a point where I would be in class and, you are there to deliver. There's a certain component that you've decided that you want to teach today. So I'm there teaching and I feel that I was only looking at teaching from a very delivery point of view, that how I'm doing and whether I have delivered it or not. And there came a point in the first 3-4 months of my teaching where I started to question in terms of that whatever I'm delivering, is it reaching to the intended audience or not? And how to assess whether they're able to grasp what I want them to grasp or not. So the delivery aspect is only, I would say, 20-25%. But the classroom experience, the interaction, these are such a huge component of teaching, which we sometimes I don't know, but I mean, I would say from my experience that we kind of miss it. So I started to question that how to get that aspect of, getting more involved. And I completely changed my teaching style. And I think I'm more happy to let the PPTs go away, because they kind of restrict your thought process. They are good to get them going, but there's a limitation. You don't get to expand beyond them. So I started to have more experience-based, learning-based, experiential. So that really helped. And I was very surprised with the idea that students started to question and, relate their daily activities to the concepts of psychology. So something like a learning theory. So what if they learned what is punishment? It's as simple as what is punishment and what is reward. So those things, the moment they start connecting, that's when you know that it's going to be a long-lasting impression on them. So everyone can go through textbooks and read through, but what is important is something that they connect on their own, and that's what is going to last for them. And I could see that in their answer books when we had the semester end exam, and I realized that a lot of discussions, and especially when they are trying to explain their answers, if I have examples, I'm very happy. And I was really happy to see that they could answer with those examples that they thought connected to the concept. And that was a very big, because this I'm talking of 2016, and it's 24 right now. And I still hold that dear, because that was a lightning moment for me. That not the delivery, it's about the conveying, the communication, and how you. So very important, and I still hold it very close, and I try and gather because every batch is different. Every batch creates, like from the first semester to the second semester, the batch evolves. So students who were very active in the first semester, for some reason now they're backbenchers. So personality, or the whole group kind of evolves in their own way. They have their own equations, and so you have to read through it, and that's how you make connect with those students. So it's been very nice, and like I said, I've evolved, and I'm quite excited about being in the classroom teaching, which I would have earlier, because of those PPTs, I felt that I kind of restricted myself. So I didn't push myself and let myself out there. So I'm happy to have been able to.
All right.
So like I said, challenge, even in teaching, whether it's shooting or whether in teaching, you have to question, like, what next? What am I missing? How can I improve? And this comes from the fact that actually I'm an organizational psychologist. So organizational change, evolving organizations, and all of those things is something that, because I read every day, it's something that keeps triggering questions in my mind. And I'm glad I see it like that, because you see, your team differently, you see your team members differently. There's so much that one can look at, and questioning is something which is very important and integral to growth. So one shouldn't really shy away from that aspect at all.
Okay.
There's one more thing I think, I also, I'd just like to pick up on what I did as part of my doctoral thesis, since we are talking on growth, capacity, and, knowing yourself. I did my doctoral thesis and I submitted it in 2016. I got my PhD degree in 2016. And so when I thought of doing PhD, it was not something that I was doing right out of my master's. I had worked for 5-6 years, and the idea of doing research excited me, and that's the reason I got into research. So when I got into research and I was trying to figure out what works for people, what are those areas that you can work on, and something that has a long-lasting impact and can be built upon. So I came up with this. It's a term called psychological capital. I don't know if you've heard. It's Luthan's. It's a term from positive organizational psychology, and then there is this term called transformational leadership. So we both talk about the fact that how your individual capacities and strengths can be developed, and that in turn develops the people that you work with. So if I have resilience, if I have optimism, if I have hope and self-efficacy, I mean, if I'm confident about myself, I will somewhere relate to the people who work around me. So I have that in mind because this is something that you can develop. So they are all intervention-based variables in psychology. And but I didn't want to do it on these, I don't mean it otherwise, but private sector employees, because that was kind of overdone. So I decided that I'm going to do it on police officials. And we had a tie-up. The university luckily had a tie-up with the Rajasthan Police Academy, and they were quite helpful. And even the police department, eventually, they helped me out in data collection, because a lot of people feel that, it might go against their career development if they report some psychological test. That's the barrier I'm talking about. I'm not asking them that how do they feel. I'm just asking that how do you behave in certain situations. And people feel that, what if this goes in my CR and things like that. But the department was extremely helpful, and that's the reason I could complete my data collection. So I worked with police officials simply because public service is not considered to be a tough job in India. Like people, UPSC aspirants for that matter, or RAS or RPS, people think that getting into a government job or public service is an easy thing to do. But when I was researching about the topic, and there's so little research that is done in India on police services, whereas India is so diverse and there are so many challenges when you're in public service, especially for a police officer. You can, one call or one decision can be really, it can really blow up into something else. So that's how sensitive the area is, but unfortunately, public never sees them in that manner. And when I interacted with police officials while I was collecting data, most of them felt that, people don't appreciate what we do. They felt that, everyone feels it's an easy job. People demand stuff from us, but they don't appreciate what we do. And, I feel this is, they need more. And at some point, because once you are in public service, yes, you get the salary, you have the security. But what about job satisfaction? What about, aspects of personal growth? There is a trajectory to your promotions, but workplace is much more beyond that. And if you are able to create an aspect where a person knows that I will have, I have opportunities for personal growth, I can do other things, it makes the workplace scenario very different. And I mean, that's what my research is about, that if you develop these aspects, and if a leader is seen in behaving and developing himself or herself, it will transcend to the followers as well. So then you're actually trying to change a full culture of an organization and how people perceive themselves within the service, how others see them within the service. So I'm trying to work on that. In fact, even though it's been a long time since I did my PhD, but I'm trying to publish a book out of my PhD. And I'm trying to make it more training specific and training needs based a book. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
So I am, yeah, sorry.
Do you have any tips for young people, particularly those under 20, at the age when many people are confused? So do you have any tips based on your illustrious career? What tips do you have?
No, I think what I tell most of my students and even parents who sometimes come to us to ask what should my what be doing, what my child should be doing. There are three aspects which I find really important. One is something of interest, and you have to see that from a long-term perspective. A lot of times people see that, oh, this is what I like to do right now, but they don't know what to do next with it. So know your interest, ask whether this is something which is momentary in nature or this is something which you feel will stick around. And how well you can do. So, there's a concept of putting together who you are, what you can do, and what you want to do. So you just try and put that together. And the closer the circles, the more comfortable you are going to be in your choice.
You think 18 and 19 years old can actually, they can create those circles, this 18 and 19 years old?
No, actually they can't.
17 maybe.
That I agree. Actually, a lot of them get into certain things where they feel that this is what they should be doing, or this is what is going to look good.
Yeah.
So when you are into that thought process of what is going to look good, I don't know how long it's going to look good. And what if the fashion changes? So like right now we have so many students, I mean, I meet so many kids. Some of them are absolutely clear what they want to do. And you ask them and they've researched and they know the long-term aspect. So you have to invest in your decisions. Why do we say that decisions have to be thought about? The reason is that you have to know um, your knowledge base is something which is going to help you create and, come to decisions, which is important. So why not use knowledge? I mean, we have so much knowledge available these days. Use that as a base, and then you'll know exactly where you want to be. And then, like I said, question yourself. You've made a decision, then you say, why did I make a decision? Can you justify it to yourself? If yes, you're good to go.
Yeah, okay. But 18 years old who are in class 11 and 12, they are the ones who are going to make this decision of what line to get into in the bachelor's degree, whether it's science or engineering or commerce. And that's a tough decision at that age. So what hints or advice would you have for them? How do they know?
I think one thing that lacks in Indian educational institutions is the power of using psychological testing. So I can use tests to predict long-term success and so, what field will I work in? So aptitude, interest, and my personality. And there are a lot of employers actually who use these tests to know what kind of role that you will fit in perfectly. So we should be using that in 11, 12. In fact, since you brought up this point, I feel, I don't know if you've read that there are so many issues regarding these IIT coaching centers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they are not good, but what if they are not meant for everyone? So
I, in fact, just posted a story about it today on LinkedIn that Kota is the saddest city in India because you go there to kill you go there and you will never make it. It's the saddest city in India.
Yeah. And imagine a 15-year-old kid realizing that he's not up to the mark and he will not make it to IIT. It's the most depressing thing to hear and to accept at that age for them. So I feel that when parents see these decisions are made by parents in India, of course, at the age of 13, 14, where they feel that these students, this is the dream that should be followed. Now, whether that dream, I can't just say that my child should be an IITian or a doctor. Does that child have the ability to go through that process and to that whole challenges of those courses or not? That is something that no one is looking into. And whether I can give multiple tests. So what happens is that people go through these screening tests, they clear them at some point, but those screening tests are not they don't predict that whether I can take sequentially harder questions or not. So they are good for entry, but then what about the other part, which is the demanding part? And parents don't realize that my child might not be ready for this.
Yeah.
And then they invest money. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not saying it's very hard-earned money for a lot of parents. They are so hopeful and they really, I mean, it's unfortunate that this happens. But why don't they first, ascertain whether my child, is this the career for my child or not?
Yeah.
And that's something that they can ascertain at the age of 12, 13, and they can revisit it again, even if you've not done it at that point. Please revisit it again when the child is 16 and let them decide whether it is the career for them or not. So rather than just pushing them, it doesn't lead, the child doesn't have a way to come back. So
no, I know. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good to hear it from a professional that this is a problem because it's so obvious that it's a wrong thing that's happening in Kota. It's a disaster to collect so many people, and 95% of whom know that they won't make it. Anyway, let's move on to whatever else you want to add.
No, I just want to add for kids, just keep looking for opportunities. It's not necessary that you take every opportunity that comes to you, but experiences are something that make you. So what you feel you might have missed might be good for you, and what you feel is the worst for you might make you something which you'll be proud of in the next 10 years. So keep at it, enjoy yourself, and I think just keep learning.
And learn to shoot.
Of course, yes. I totally encourage that. Any age. In fact, shooting is a sport that you can take up at any age. There's this one Thai shooter. He's in his 50s and he just qualified for Olympic quota. So be it air gun, any kind of shooting, it's fantastic. In fact, I know IT engineers who are into shooting in Bangalore because they just find that it calms them down and it eases them off. So it's a stress buster for them. So I mean, if you're working, if you're studying, you can really take this option up. It doesn't take much time and it's fantastic.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to add here?
No, thank you so much. I think it's been a
Okay,
wonderful.
good. So let's say bye to the viewers. I'll be back with another expert or young person soon. And maybe we'll catch up with you in a year to see how your views have changed and whether you've been able to publish the book. Okay. So bye bye. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.